Mangione with your live Pinpoint Doppler 12 Futurecast.
Good morning, and some new information coming in on Arthur right now. Let's check out the graphics. You can see the eye of the storm has likely made his last landfall. You can see right now that circle, that clear circle in the middle, has just gone over the last part of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Obviously not a good situation here. This will continue to move to the north. Now, a little bit of strengthening is possible, although the overall trend will be to weaken Arthur over the next 12 hours as he approaches the waters of southern New England. Right now, winds 100 miles an hour. That is a pretty strong hurricane. And again, those winds will increase a little bit and then likely start to decrease in the center of the storm as the cooler ocean waters take over here in southern New England. So by later on tonight, Arthur makes his closest pass. And again, this has been very consistent with the center of Arthur staying offshore. But it's not without impacts. Primarily the impacts due to some heavy rain and some wind tonight, but we're not looking at much damage here in southern New England. Could see some of that out across Cape Cod. That's because that will be a little closer to the center of the storm. In fact, a tropical storm warning in effect for Cape Cod, Nantucket, a hurricane warning in effect south of Nantucket out over the open ocean. So obviously this is not a good place to put a boat in the water. Very dangerous out here. And even our waters will see some rip currents, some high surf as we go throughout the weekend. Right now, though, not a bad morning in Providence. A little bit on the humid side. Providence, you're at 70 degrees, westerly 69, New Bedford at 68. Temperatures will rise into the upper 70s and low 80s today. So it's not just about Arthur. It's also about this front right here. And this front will meet up with Arthur as we head later on this evening. In fact, we can kind of look at how that happens. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to go through this a little more carefully in just a second. I just want to show you the general trend of Arthur meeting up with that front. There's the front. There is Arthur, so you can see the core of the storm is offshore, but it does meet up with the front, throw some moisture our way this evening, and then scoot out really, really quickly by the time we get into the overnight hours into your Saturday morning. So that's the good news with all of this, is that on the land, the weekend weather ends up being pretty nice. Now let's go through this a little more carefully, hour by hour. This morning, a shower is possible, a downpour is possible. So if you're heading to the parade, definitely bring the rain gear. But the good news is I don't see it raining the whole time. I don't really see the widespread rain happening until after the noon hour. In fact, I start the clock at noon. Some moisture really starts to fill in. That trend continues into the afternoon and evening. This is around 7 o'clock. And even into 9, 10 o'clock, some showers still coming down fairly heavily. But by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, this stuff is out of here. So in terms of rainfall, 1 to 2 inches. Could see some isolated higher amounts. Cape Cod likely to get a little bit more in the rain department, 2 to 4 inches as some of that moisture wraps back around. On Cape Cod, you may see showers continuing until a good part of the overnight hours. Now, even in this zone right here, 1 to 2 inches, there could be those isolated spots which get closer to 3 inches. That's why some localized street flooding is possible. That is the nature of tropical moisture. It can really pour when it comes down, and often you get some neighborhoods which get the street flooding, and another neighborhood a few miles away gets nothing. So we'll have to keep that situation monitored as we go throughout the day. In terms of wind speeds, this afternoon, not too bad. A little breezy, 5 to 15 miles an hour. It's not until around 8 o'clock tonight where Arthur makes his closest pass, and those winds start to get going. You could see by midnight wind gusts between about 30 and 40 miles an hour. That could be a little bit overdone, actually. Cape Cod and the islands, these will be the strongest wind gusts, with wind gusts possibly 45, closer to 50 miles an hour. But in terms of wind damage, I don't see much of that happening for our viewing area. I mean, gusts of 35 to even 40 miles an hour, that's not that uncommon here in southern New England. And as long as they don't last very long, which they probably won't, we should probably make it out okay without any significant wind damage here in central Rhode Island. Here's a wrap on Independence Day, 1 to 2 inches of rain with some higher isolated amounts, and we will be looking at high surf and rip currents at our local beaches throughout the weekend. So if you're heading down to the beach, because tomorrow will be a nice beach day in terms of the weather, just listen to the lifeguards. If there are dangerous rip currents around, you don't want to be messing around with that. Sunday also looks nice, mostly sunny, low 80s. It gets warmer and more humid as we go into next week with some showers and thunderstorms possible on Tuesday. So obviously we'll continue to keep an eye on the situation, and you can just go to WPRI.com to keep an eye on the situation. I just actually updated the weather blog with some more details on Arthur. So a little rocky today, Brian, and then nice as we head into the weekend.
Now, Eyewitness Sports with Yanni Caracas.